Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Tutorpreneurs. So today we have an amazing personality, Mr. Ronald Johnson, as our guest here, who is the brightest tutorpreneur I have ever met, I can say that. And would love to welcome him on our platform. So Mr. Ronald, I would like to welcome you on our interview series called Tutorpreneur.
That's great. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here.
Can you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Yes, my name's Ron Johnson, and I am a tutor. I work in Guelph, Ontario, a city in Ontario, Canada. And I began tutoring a long time ago, before I even owned a computer. So I've been tutoring for 25 years this year. And I tutor primarily grade school and high school students, but I do have adult students as well. And now I tutor online as well as still in person when we can.
So you just mentioned that you're tutoring from the previous 25 years.
It'll be 25 years this fall. Yeah, that's right.
Oh my God. So
Yeah,
you're
a long
literally
time.
a long time. Actually, you are tutoring from the time I was born.
Yeah. Well, many of my students remind me that I was tutoring before they were born, of course, and some of them say, "I think even my mom wasn't born yet." so, so luckily I've got used to it, so it doesn't make me feel too old anymore.
Oh my God. That's true. I thought I was going to have the same thought. Maybe it is making you feel that you're older.
No, not
So
anymore.
that's actually an amazing introduction. So can you please tell us how did you start and where are you right now in your tutoring business?
Sure. I was late going to university. I worked for many years. This will make me even older. Uh, I worked for many years. I worked in a factory. Then I worked for about 14 years as a cook in the restaurant industry. And so I went to university as a mature student. I didn't start until I was older. And I was still doing my university studies, and I volunteered at a high school, a secondary school, and because I always knew I wanted to teach. So during my volunteer experience, I began to wonder whether I really wanted to teach in the school system or not, because there were some issues there. And even some of the teachers said, "No, you're too old to start here. Don't start here." So I looked into tutoring and I thought, maybe that's something that I could do, because I would be able to reach a wider range of students. I would be able to teach in the way that I wanted, which sometimes the schools are very good, but sometimes they have restrictions that you're not allowed. For example, I was told I was not allowed to use phonics. To teach reading. So I thought, that's odd, because that's the way I learned. But and so I decided I would try to set up a tutoring business. I talked to my wife, and she was excited. She agreed. She worked in a different industry altogether, but she knew I wanted to teach. And so that's how it started. And I honestly did not know if I did everything wrong. Of course, I did not do a business plan. I just decided I was going to try it. If it began to work, I would continue. If it didn't, I would drop that plan and just go to something else. And that's really how I started. And I put a few ads in newspapers in 1996 and had a few students in 96. And then by the middle of 1997, I would say that the business was going fairly well. So it really didn't take a terribly long time. And it took a little longer to get it to be more comfortable, but it was at least starting, and it looked like it would work.
Yep,
So,
that's actually a very humble starting, we can say. Now,
yeah,
where I would like to know, where have you reached in your tutoring business right now?
right now, well, for all of this time, this has been my full-time occupation. I have not worked in anything else, part-time nor full-time. This is it. And so that's been great. And I have quite a number of students in person. Usually you can see the big table behind me. This is my real background here. This is
Okay.
where I normally teach, in this very long table.
Yeah.
Because of COVID, of course, everyone is online right now because we are still in lockdown in Ontario, Canada. Um, so everyone has been online on and off for almost a little over a year now. And that's interesting. And I had done some online students previous to that, thankfully. So it wasn't a complete shock to try to put everyone online, but it was still difficult because that was a lot more than I was expecting. And I have to teach in a different way to some extent. So it was a headache at the beginning. So,
Yeah.
but I do have still in-person students. Once COVID's over, some of them will come back. I know that because many of them don't like online. Some of them might stay online. And then, of course, I do have a few students from other countries like Russia, and I just got one last night from Australia.
Oh,
So those ones I have to teach online. It's a little bit difficult to go back and forth, but
yeah.
I never traveled to people's homes. I never did. I never went to other homes. They always came to me.
Uh,
Yeah.
I just made a sentence actually. It's like bees always roam near the honey. So students will surely come to you. You are
Yeah.
providing them good service. They are going to come towards you. I'm very much sure. And like, I want to know what exactly was your thinking process. Like, this is something I want to do, that I'll leave everything else aside. And what were your thoughts going in your mind when you entered into this field?
Right, right. Well, as I said, I always knew I wanted to teach. Even when I was a child, I liked playing school at home with my brothers and sisters. And I always liked teaching. I always pretended I was teaching, even if nobody was there. And I still do that. And I still tell my students to do that. Because if you teach someone else, even if it's an imaginary person or a teddy bear, it doesn't matter, it reconfirms it for yourself because you're explaining it to someone else. So I always wanted to teach. When I worked in the factory, as soon as I learned the jobs, I began teaching the newcomers because a lot of people didn't like teaching the newcomer, and I did. I loved it. I enjoyed teaching them. And when I worked in restaurants, I enjoyed teaching the new people how to work in the kitchen. So I always wanted to teach. So when I decided to do the tutoring, it wasn't an issue about really teaching. It was more how to do the business, and the business was more, and to be honest, continues to be more of the issue than the actual teaching. So my thought processes were just that I wanted to help students learn, particularly students who were struggling. And I did not think that I would be teaching the students I'm teaching. I actually thought I would be teaching more adult students who had literacy difficulties, because even in a country like the United States and Canada, we still have a lot of adults who are functionally illiterate. And that's who I actually thought I would be working with. But I've worked with very few of those. Most of my students are younger, and and I was never going to do math, but a lot of my clients said, please do math, please do math. So I began doing math up to, grade 6, then I moved it up to 7, then I moved it up to 8, then I moved it up to 9. I have students who are in grade 11 now who still bring me questions, and sometimes I have to either refer them to someone else or say, talk to your teacher, because I didn't even do this myself. So it's very hard for me to teach you something I've never done. But it's a great learning experience for them too, because they can see that I don't know everything, that's for sure. And very often we can work it out. I say, well, you tell me what you know, and I'll look at it and we'll work on it. Because the idea that you just are supposed to automatically know is not true. Education is about learning how to find out. It isn't about just having all the answers. We're not computers. Um, so that's not what it's all about.
It was really a very, very honest answer, I would say.
Oh, thanks.
It's not about always getting it right. Few teachers, like most of the teachers in the school system, means they have one thing in their mind, that if I'm teacher, if the student asks me, I should have the answer. And
Mm,
some of the other thing, in means uh, keeping that in mind, they give some answer to the student. They don't bother
right.
whether it is right or wrong. They just give it. And in the
That's right.
end, in the end, the student finds out The
That's
teacher
right.
was lying.
That's right. That's right. Or just didn't know. Um, that's true. And I have to admit, in the beginning, when I first started tutoring, I found it very difficult sometimes to say I don't know, because I just felt that I might lose the client. Like, they'll go home, they'll tell their parents, well, he
Yeah.
doesn't know anything. Why are you taking me? and but I knew that was the wrong way to think. But sometimes you automatically feel ways, even though you know that's not true. But I have learned that it is a great learning experience for the students to see
Yep.
someone struggle and find the answer eventually. And I see it in their own eyes when either we both do it together or suddenly they get it and that little light bulb goes on and they're so excited that they have worked it out or they have figured it out.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yesterday, I had a moment with a student. She was having some issues getting the square roots. So eighth grader
right,
students.
right.
So she just got it. Like I taught her another for 15 to 20 minutes. She got it and she started dancing in the class. Got it. She
Yeah,
was
that's
dancing
right.
like this.
No, that's great.
And you said about that thing like the teachers not telling the students that they don't know. Actually, I can say I'm very shameless about it. I just told the students right away that I don't know. Maybe I can
Yeah.
help you out with this tomorrow, but you need to
Mhm.
give me time till tomorrow at least. So I would just go there, research about that, and I always encourage students to ask me the questions to the answer which I won't be knowing, because it's their questions that is going to make them stronger. Like whatever
That's
questions
right.
they get, if they know, as you said, and I could, that it's not like that the teachers knows everything. If they
Hmm.
know that because we are also a human being, not a supercomputer that we will be knowing everything. So
That's right.
that's a curiosity in between them also. Like sometimes what I do is like, if I don't know the answer, if it's possible, I'll just say, okay, this is your homework. I know the answer, but this is your homework. Have you done something like that? Do you remember
That's
any such?
right. Yes, I understand that. No, I have had students who bring me particularly challenging math questions, even at younger grades, because sometimes the teacher will give out a sheet and the teacher will explain it in the class. Well, I wasn't in the class, so I don't know how the teacher wants this done. The sheet doesn't always tell me. So I'm thinking and trying to figure it out. And because of limited time, I can't always do it immediately. And so I very often have phoned my student after they've gone home. When they were in person, they go home. And then later that night, I would sit upstairs with a piece of paper, scribble out the calculation. Then I would phone them and say, okay, I have it. I can explain this to you now. So that has happened more than once, especially with secondary school students. Or I'll email them because sometimes in an email I can show the equation better and
Yeah,
say this step one, step two, step three, this is what you need to do.
yeah. Or else it's difficult to sleep with that feeling. Oh, I could not answer the student.
That's right. That's what keeps going in your mind. Yeah.
Oh, it's like that imposter syndrome. I also had that imposter syndrome so much. Having what will happen if the student's parent know that I was not able to answer a simple
Mhm.
question? So as you said, there is a fear, always a fear of losing the client, and in the starting of the business, this fear is like huge. What will happen if I lose this client? Oh, what am I going to do? Like I'll just ask myself the questions which have no meaning at all. Like if this client goes, they will tell other clients. I'll think like that. They will tell other clients that the teacher doesn't know anything. Then they will tell other clients, and I will lose all my business. So things keep on rolling and rolling, which has no meaning at all. So now,
No.
coming back to the next question, what are the lessons you learned in the start of your business, which have been very instrumental in helping you grow and reach to where you are right now?
Mhm. I think in terms of the business part of it, which, well, they're tied together with the students as well, but I think that patience, patience is important not only with the students but also with the business because it doesn't always go the way you want it to go. Ideas that I come up with that I sometimes think are going to be amazing are not. Sometimes they are, but often they're not. They don't
Often
work
they are
well.
not. Yep.
And so sometimes you just have to take a step back and not beat yourself up. And that related to what we were just talking about. Don't beat yourself up if you don't know the answer. Don't beat yourself up if you say the wrong thing sometimes, because we all do that. We're human beings, we're not machines. um, and don't beat yourself up if the business isn't just thriving the way you think it will, because sometimes it goes very, very well and it has absolutely, well, I shouldn't say absolutely, it has very little to do with you. And sometimes it goes very poorly, and that also has very little to do with you sometimes. It's just business. It goes up and down. Uh, it's tricky sometimes, and you cannot always know what is going to work and what is not going to work.
Yep.
Uh, yeah,
It's absolutely right. And it's
I think.
business. It's the way how it works. It all means when it goes up, it will come down. When it goes down, it is going to come up. So all the business most probably go through the same phase a lot
Mhm.
of times. So now, do you really believe, is there something called a right time to start the business?
No, I don't think so. I think the right time is when you're ready, but that's not a very clear answer. It's not a very good answer for most people. What does that mean when you're ready?
Yeah.
Um, I was ready because I really, really wanted to teach, but I also was not having a lot of success. I had completed my university degrees. I was looking for work. I was not finding anything that I wanted to do, or they didn't want me, one or the other. And so I needed work. Let's be honest. That was really, I was looking for a job. And I thought, why not create a job for myself? Because then I can, at least I have some control. Uh, if I can make it work. And so when I started, and it began to work, and then it worked a little better. And so I think you just have to start, because I think if you keep thinking about it too long, now you might want to do a little more than I did. You might want to have a little bit of a business plan. You might want to prepare yourself a little bit more. If you're teaching online, which a lot of people are doing now, you want to familiarize yourself with a few of the products, with Zoom, or I started using Skype when I did some online before Zoom was even around, and other platforms that are available, just to test them out, see how they work, so that you're prepared. But you're never fully prepared. You don't know which kinds of students you're going to get. You don't know exactly what you need until you start doing it. So
Yep.
I say just jump in and start doing it. When I became a chef, a cook. I had been working in the factory for a couple of years, 2.5 years. And I left there and I went looking for any job. I just needed a job. I was very young and I just needed a job. I didn't care. I was still studying and I wanted a job. And I had one resume left. I didn't want to
Mhm.
walk all the way home with it. So I saw a restaurant and I said, well, I'll just get rid of it in there. And I went in and they had just fired their chef. And they said, if you want to learn, you can start tomorrow. And I said, okay. That's how I started. I had no experience. I had never worked in a restaurant in my life before. When they showed me the menu, I couldn't read the menu because it was mostly French and Basque food. So I didn't know any of it. I'd never even eaten that food. So that was my introduction. So just jump in, and you can do it. I think any time is a good time.
Yeah.
Some people are
That's
saying, no, it's not good right now because there are too many. I don't think so. I think that, uh, like any business, like a coffee shop, I don't know in India, I don't know what it's like there, but I know here in Guelph, I think the last time I counted, and this is a small city, this is 100 and about 130, 140,000 people, I think, somewhere in there. And we have something like 14 or 16 Tim Hortons. That's just one kind of coffee shop. And then there's a lot of others, Starbucks and other coffee shops. And they're all doing well. So I think we can panic when we see there are so many tutors and whatnot. But don't worry about that, because you're not the same as everyone else. And
yep.
if you offer a quality service, because just like anything else, some of them will be very good and some won't be so great. So just make sure you're the quality person and the quality service.
Yep, it's absolute. I completely agree with what you're saying. And it's also important that yes, some of them will be having giving good service, some of them will be not giving good service. It's also in us that we may be having our tutoring skills good in a particular subject, and we can
Yes.
say we are bad at some subject. It's never wrong in accepting what we are bad at. It's actually the best
That's
thing
right.
we can do. So
Mhm.
uh, it's always better to identify which tutor, which subject or which
Mhm.
particular niche a person wants to go, because there are a lot of people on this planet Earth. There are around 700 crores, like we can say 7 billion plus people, and
Yeah.
all you need to make your business a full time or a completely fully booked is just 20 kids, just 20
Yeah.
people. If you get 20 people full time, means even if they take 1 or 2 sessions a week, we
That's
are
right.
completely fully booked. So from 7 billion people, we have to just crack 20 people. And
That's right.
there is more than enough on everyone's plate. Now,
Yes.
initially, as you said, starting up, because even though I am in this technological world, like, but I pretty much think like a old school only. Like, I never thought in my life that someone can learn online, because
Mm.
I myself never tried it out.
Right.
But when the COVID hit, the previous year, the last year when the COVID hit, and there was a
Right.
lockdown, so I was an in-person tutor. I used to go to the home. I used to go to children's home
Right.
and teach them in their house, and then come back. But when the lockdown started in India, I had no other work to do. And
Right.
as you said, I also wanted work. So I started
Right.
searching. Like we say, no, necessity is the mother of all discoveries. So
Mm.
I had to discover something. It was already there. I just had to see what will work out for me. So I started
Right.
searching many Facebook groups, YouTubes. How can I get online? Because
Right.
it was like a do or die situation for me. I I would have died without doing any work. So some work was needed, and because of necessity, I became an online tutor. And
Right.
all this Zoom and how to get the business done and all, I I can say that I learned it in a year, not
Right.
more than that, because 1 year only I took to set up my business, and now I have a team of around. Means previously it was 7. Now I have a team of around 10 people with me.
Mm.
So 8 of them are tutoring, and 2 are
Right.
non-tutoring staff. So after that, tried specializing my subjects. Like I used
Right.
to teach physics, chemistry, maths, and if required, I used to teach biology as well. So complete math and science tutor I was. But later I
Right.
thought, why not specialize in some particular topic? So I just
Right.
selected elementary and middle school math. So this two range I selected, and I thought, okay, let me just get a specialist in one thing particularly. I'll make my
Mhm.
team ready. I am making my team ready for the other subjects. But it's always better. Like that, this is something, even someone wakes me up in the night and asks me any question, eighth grader asks me any question, I can answer. So I actually choose that particular field where I'm very comfortable at. So
Right. Right.
as you said, you tutor a lot of subjects. So we can say you are a very knowledgeable person. And can you please let us know what are all the subjects that you tutor? So, like if someone wants to learn from you, they can contact you through
Right.
this video.
Right. Well, when I started and still today, my primary focus was on English, reading, writing, comprehension. They all go together, and of course, there's spelling and everything. But all of the tools that you need for reading and writing and understanding what you're reading, because there is a difference. I've had students, one boy in particular in grade 6, he was basically failing on his reading score. However, when I assessed him, his reading ability was at the university level. So why was he getting 40s and 50s in reading when he could read just as well as I can read? Well, it wasn't about reading. It wasn't even really about comprehension. It was mostly about writing, because the reading score is often based on what you hand in on paper. So in a way, it's a bit of a misnomer to call it a reading score when you have to hand in papers. Well, he wasn't doing the work, and he didn't know how to do the work. So that was the problem. So they're all connected. And as I as I said, I started before I even owned a computer, so I certainly wasn't doing online. I didn't even know how to use a computer. I didn't even use a computer at my university studies. Well, I did, but it was very basic. It had no mouse. It had nothing like what we have today. And so my the younger students that were coming to me, grade school and secondary school, they were struggling students in general. And so they needed a lot of help in terms of just basic study skills and strategies. How do I learn? How do I not, beat myself up or call myself stupid when I'm not learning, and things like that. And it continues today. Students still do that, of course. And so I set up my programs to address the study skills and strategies part of it, because really that helps with no matter what you're learning, at no matter what age you are. If you can learn how to learn, that's very, very helpful. And some of the lessons I came up with, I wish I had known before I started my university career, because it would have been very helpful for me. So what I've put together to help my students is useful for everyone. And then parents were asking me to do math, like, as I say. And so I began to do some math, and I've added more math as we've gone on. I, I understand that online tutoring is a bit different, although I do it, a lot of it is the same way I tutor in person, actually, for me. But I have listened to professional tutors online, and many of them say, find a niche and stick with your niche. And I tried that. I thought about doing that online. I haven't succeeded because I keep falling back to what I'm accustomed to, which is dealing with the whole person, which is dealing with the whole student. So even when I try, parents keep asking me to do more than just that one piece. So I always end up adding another piece. But I do think the niche idea is good. And particularly if you have a team, and if you have someone who's doing physics and math, and someone who's doing the English and writing piece, and someone else who's maybe doing biology or whatever, then that would work very well too. It just hasn't been my experience, because I've worked alone most of the time. I had a couple of representatives for a short time in other towns, but I found that was too difficult for me to keep everything the way I wanted it. And it just wasn't working that well for me. So I didn't continue with that anymore. I didn't pursue that. I just continued to just be a sole tutor, and I do all the tutoring myself. So English skills, basic math, I always say basic math skills, but I do go up to grade 9 and some grade 10 now, but I don't advertise it because I don't. And I don't teach French either, but I do have students ask me questions about their French. If I can help you, I will help you, but I don't tutor French. French, I refer to other tutors who are more professional at that. Yeah.
Yep,
But
it's always better.
most of my students are struggling, so yeah.
Uh, the parents, I think so. The parents ask you because they believe you can do it, and you are such a sweet kind of person that you will not say no to the students at any cost.
Well, I think that's part of it. The other part that certainly for in-person tutoring is they already come here twice a week, so they don't really want to be going somewhere else for math, right? So, and then the other piece is I think that the student gets to know me, and I've been very lucky over all these years that the relationships I've had with so many students, hundreds of students now, I don't even know how many, has been very good generally. And I think that's a big part of it, because I tell students, you're going into grade 11 now, or you're going into grade 12 now. And they say, oh, I have math next semester. I said, well, that's great, but I won't be able to help you very much because I just don't know that math. And they don't quit. They won't. They just want to keep coming. So I refer them to other math tutors. I had a gentleman came here actually for a while. He was going for his teacher's degree, and he was doing his teacher's degree in mathematics, so he could help with the higher level math. And but I think that's part of it. If you're a good tutor, if your students like you, and I have long-term students. I mean, I have many students. One of my very first students that came to me in 1997, in I think it was July of 1997, uh, stayed with me. He was just finished grade 2. He would be going into grade 3 in September, and he stayed with me all the way through grade 12. So I knew that boy. I watched him grow up, and I still see him occasionally. He still calls or visits to tell me how he's doing. So it's amazing. Yeah.
That feeling is actually very amazing when your student literally grows up and tells you that you are the person who helped him, because we never know, like, you as a teacher will be telling them all the good things. They will remember a certain one sentence strike. I think, I personally believe a sentence is enough to change a human's life. So if
Mm,
some sentence of the teacher strikes to a student so much,
right.
they can actually turn their whole life around that sentence. And it's always an amazing feeling when the student comes and tells you that uh, it was because of you what I am doing right now, because you feel the confidence in me. So did you have any moments? You must have had many. Would you like to share some of it, like any one memory which you would like to tell us all?
Mm. I have a few. I have a lot actually, but I'll
Yeah.
only mention a couple. As I say, a lot of my students stay with me for a long time, much longer than I expected. Again, this is not what I expected when I started the business. That's why I say be flexible when you start and be patient, be willing to adjust. And that's what I have done all the way along. And I thought students would be with me maybe for a few months or a year, but I had no idea that so many would be with me for 10 years sometimes, or six,
Oh
seven
my
years. I mean,
gosh.
I have long-term students. Many of my students right now have been with me for a long, long time. Thank you. Um, one boy came to me and his mother told me that he couldn't write. I mean, physically write with a pencil or pen. He had to type everything on his laptop, on his computer. Well, I don't normally teach that way. Well, I do online now, but I mean, here I don't. I have them write on paper. And I said, well, that's fine. If he needs to bring his laptop, then we'll do it that way. But maybe we'll try some with paper too, just because in a way, I think it's very good still to write things down, even in today's technology, because I think it wires the brain differently. I think you remember things differently. I think there's something to writing something down with your hand. So they agreed and they began, and he never brought his laptop. I don't know why he didn't. They never did explain to me why he never brought it. I think he decided he didn't want to be seen as different. And I must say, when I teach in person, I usually have 2 or 3 students at a time. I don't teach one by himself or herself, which is another reason I didn't travel to people's homes, because I could do 2 or 3 here, keep my costs lower, etc. Well, anyway, he never brought it. So I taught him the way I teach all my students, with paper and book. Yes, his handwriting was really messy. It was difficult to read, but I could read it. My handwriting isn't beautiful either. So and I've been tutoring a long time, so I've read lots of scribbles, so I can read almost anything. And and he got more and more confident as he went on, and he had no problem. He stayed with me all the way through high school. He did some work on the computer. He used my computer, though, whenever he had schoolwork to do, and he would type on there because that's the way it was being done. And but he still did a lot of writing on paper. Then he went off to university, and about a year later, I emailed them and I said, "I hope everyone's doing well. I hope your son's doing well." And they emailed me back this amazing email telling me that yes, he got accepted into the university, and they did an assessment on him because he was on an IEP, an individual education plan. And they said, well, you don't need the IEP for writing anymore. Your writing is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. So he was able to have that removed. And that is a great feeling. I mean, that's an amazing feeling. And he was not always the easiest student. He was difficult at times, but but he was also amazing in his own way too. And he has come back to see me as an adult, and I have talked to him, and so that's great. And another boy ran across the street one day and threw his arms around me. I didn't know who he was because when I taught him, he was in, I think, grade 5 or 6. So he was not very tall. And now he's looks like a man almost, like he's 6'2" or something. And at first I'm thinking I'm being attacked. Someone's robbing me. And then he said his name. And then when I looked closer, yes, then I recognized his face. But, and, he said, thank you too for helping him in math, actually. And so that was an amazing feeling as well. So there are some wonderful things that can happen when you're tutoring, that's for sure. It can happen
Yeah.
moment to moment, but it can it can happen years later. I also had a girl, she was very difficult, had a lot of social problems, very, very, her language was very bad. I mean, she used foul language. I had to talk to her because I can't have that with other students, etc. So she was just a really troubled child, a really troubled student. And we I struggled to get her to change, and she wouldn't go to school. She didn't attend classes, and she usually did come to tutoring, but she didn't go to school. And then she started skipping tutoring, and then I said, we can't continue. It doesn't make sense. Um, and then I think it was almost 2 years later, I got an email saying, thank you very much for your help. I finally learned that I need to be different, and I've entered into this special school, and et cetera, et cetera. So you think even those stories, although I wasn't totally successful at that moment, like you said before, there's something there, a sentence you say or sentences. And I always call it the drip, 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 like a coffee machine, the drip, drip, drip effect. If you keep telling them, eventually it will get in there, and it will instruct them in the future. And I might never see it. It might happen when they're 30 years old. I don't know. But it does happen. People do go back to school sometimes as well. So
Yeah. Actually, after listening to you, I feel I should have learned my school and I should have tutor under you.
you should have what?
I should have tutored under you, or you may be my tutor, and I should have been your tutee uh, when I was in my school. Because
Oh,
it's actually
that's very nice.
a very life-changing moment. And I have observed that many teachers don't accept difficult children, like difficult child with special abilities. And if you make a change in their life,
Mhm.
I personally consider that particular student as the best asset a teacher can have.
Mhm.
Because
That's true.
we being teachers, the best asset which we are going to have is our students.
Mhm.
And I actually, whenever I tutor, I just uh, try to convert them into assets, like, because I want them to be the most powerful people in the world. Because I want to be influential. My selfishness is that wherever I go, I should know someone. Like, if there is some powerful place, like if there is somewhere I need to go. Suppose I want to visit NASA, so there should be some scientist or an astronaut or someone
Right.
who has
Right.
tutored under me or learn something at least. So if I'm able to touch the kids and make them follow their dreams or do something great in their life,
Mhm.
I think it's the best. Means teaching is the most powerful profession in this world, and we can utilize it this way by making our students the most powerful human beings. And it's
That's
always
right.
on us only,
That's
because
right.
a student is what a teacher tells him, is what I have observed. Like, if not most of the cases, they also have,
It's
I
it.
think you disagree with me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. I think the important, and as I've moved through the tutoring career, And for a long time now, I continue to tell my students who don't normally believe me totally, but maybe later. And I tell the parents who don't always believe me at first either, but they usually do later, that it isn't about the grades. The grades, to be honest, the grades don't really make very much difference to me. It's the learning that counts. It's the learning that you want. The grades, it's a number or a letter. That's all it is. If you learn the material well, you'll get the grade. If you focus on the grade, it's just, what is it? It's like watching paint dry. I mean, it's not going to change. It's either going to dry or it isn't. But if I learn the material, then the grades should follow. But I have a lot of students. I know that they will never be an A student in reading, let's say, because they have learning challenges that are going to make that very difficult for them. So they probably never will be a wonderful reader. But I want them to be the best reader they can be themselves. You don't have to compare yourself to Johnny and Sally and it really doesn't matter what they're, don't worry about what they're doing, worry about what you're doing.
Yeah.
And maybe you'll be surprised, and maybe I'll be surprised. I have been over the years. Sometimes all of a sudden they just take off. But I'm realistic as well, and I understand that there are limits. I have limits. There are things I can't do. And I know that no matter how hard I practice, I am not going to become LeBron James. It isn't going to happen. So, and I'm okay with that. I don't have to be that good at basketball.
Yeah.
So that's fine. Just be the best you can be, and maybe that'll take you to the top of the class. Sometimes it does. But if you're focusing only on the grade, you're focusing on the wrong thing. Because you're just going to worry about it. You're going to panic about it. You're going to stress about it. And that's going to lower your ability to learn. You won't be able to learn if you're stressing about a mark, you know.
Absolutely.
And I've also seen a lot of students in high school who struggled, who do excellent at university. And I've seen students with straight A's in high school who struggle at university. So the marks, they
I was
mean
one of the
something.
latter. I was one of the latter ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Please continue. You're saying something.
You said you were one of the later. Did you have straight A's in high school or the opposite?
Straight A's. I used to top my class always.
Yeah. And that's great. And obviously sometimes those students go on to university and they don't have problems. But I have seen some that do. So I'm just saying that the grades don't always tell you the whole story. And like even grade school to high school is different. And then high school to university or college is different. So it works for different people at different levels. And you never know when you're going to come into it's like height. I have a couple of students, actually, boys, there's usually boys who are worried about how tall they are. And some of them really stressed about, I have to be taller. How can I make myself taller? It's like, well, you're going to grow to the height you're going to be. I mean, I can't stretch you. There's nothing I can do to make you taller. But you work with what you have, you deal with what you have.
Yeah. And as you said, grades don't really matter because the impact, whatever you're going to make on the society, that all depends on the work which you prepare and focusing on right now. Because as I told you, I am of the latter category of students. I was always a straight A, and I used to top my class in the school, high school. In my university, so I used to be the second last. And the last person was
down.
Yeah, the last person was my friend. So it's not once. It was like I was consistent there also.
No, yeah. No, it changes, and it depends on the style of learning and the professors or the teachers, or it varies considerably. And that's why I say just learn the material as well as you can. I took chemistry at university. I don't know why, because I didn't do a lot of maths and science in high school. As I say, I worked for many years, so even what I did learn, I'd forgotten. And then I took chemistry, just one course. I had to take two sciences, and one of the sciences I took was chemistry, because I thought it would be interesting. And it was interesting, but I'm interested in almost everything. But it was an interesting course. However, it was so difficult for me because it wasn't in my comfort zone at all. I didn't have a lot of background, which many of the other students did. So I just had to work so hard that semester on chemistry. Chemistry ate up more time. The other courses suffered a little because I had to focus on chemistry. And my score was the lowest score that I ever had at university of all the courses I did. I did 62 courses at university instead of 40, and that was my lowest score. However, I am not disappointed that I took it because it was very interesting and I learned a lot. It wasn't a great grade, it wasn't a wonderful grade, but I learned a lot from that course and a lot from that struggle. So I don't regret having taken that course at all. And if I had the time, I would still do more chemistry, or I would do other things like physics, because they're all interesting if you just focus on the material. If I was only worried about the grade, I would have been in big trouble because I knew the grade wasn't going to be good, but I really wanted to learn the material. Yeah.
It's been like you're very content and happy with the life as it is going on.
Yeah,
And
I might seem more happy than I am, uh, but I am happy. But sometimes I am not happy. I mean, sometimes I struggle with the business as well. It's not always easy, but in general, I'm happy. I am happy with when students are learning. That I am happy with all the time. But yeah,
well, I do have a Tutorpreneurs group where we support each other on WhatsApp. So, do you use WhatsApp?
no, I don't. No.
Okay, so we have a Tutorpreneurs group on WhatsApp. So where we support each other, and if someone wants to pass the lead on, so if you want, you can just join it. We have around like 10 to 12 Tutorpreneurs now. So all
Mm.
those who I have interviewed till now, we have all made a group, and we talk to each other there. Like if someone is feeling low, because as you said, I also feel low for 5 days in a week. The 2 days when I feel good is because someone asks me about, okay, you tutor, which subject do you tutor? If someone asks me also that, okay, you tutor, what do you tutor? I get happy. I feel
Yeah.
content, okay, it's fine. So 5 days I feel low. And it's always, we it's not only happening with you. All the tutorpreneurs who are having their own tutoring business, they have the same issues as you and me are facing.
Sure. Sure.
So if we talk to the people who are in the same business, we just know that. And that's also a wonderful feeling, that when you know that, oh, I'm not the only one suffering with this.
That's right. That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
We should not be happy about that thought, but it gives a kind of satisfaction. Oh, I'm not the only one. There are many others.
That's right. That's right. It's not because you want other people to struggle. It's just good to know that you're not the only one. You're not an outcast or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not taking much of your time.
No, I'm fine. Today was a good day because I don't have as many students today.
Okay.
So that's why Thursday was a
A
good
good day
day.
for me as well, so I can talk to you a little
Oh,
longer.
perfect.
I'm,
Perfect.
I'm
I know.
actually
I,
enjoying. I'm enjoying so much that we haven't finished the half questions till now.
well, that's because I talk too much.
I'm actually, I actually am loving listening to you right now. It's
Oh,
been
thank
very
you.
awesome till now. And coming to my best and favorite question, did you ever feel like giving up?
Yes, especially in the beginning, especially the first, and when I say beginning, I mean for quite a few years, not just the very beginning, but like for a number of years and on and off for a long time. Not so much now, but that I think is because of my age and my situation has changed considerably. That makes it easier for me not to. But in the earlier years, yes, absolutely, because it was my only job. It was my primary income, and there were times when I never wanted to give up because of the students. Now there were a few students that I wanted to give up on sometimes because they were so difficult and
Yeah.
yeah. But I don't give up easily. I even sometimes when a student would go home and I would say to my wife, I say, "Oh, I really don't care if I ever see that again." But then I would wake up in the morning and I would be excited to see that student again because it was just a temporary, because they were very difficult that day or whatever. We're all human and we have those feelings. But the business part of it is the worst sometimes because you worry about money. You have to pay your bills. Uh, I don't know what it's like in India, but when you have to pay your gas bill or your rent or your mortgage, they don't accept smiles for payment. They actually want money, so you have to you have to make money, and so that was a problem. And in a way, I don't really like the business side of it. I don't enjoy it. I still don't enjoy it that much. I enjoy teaching. I enjoy learning. I enjoy learning from you. I enjoy learning from my students. They don't believe me. I can have a grade one student. I say, I'll learn a lot from you because I will see how you work. And that will inform me to help other students. And they don't believe it, but it's true. You learn from everybody. If you're a good teacher or a good tutor, then you learn from everyone. And but the business side I really don't like very much.
Uh,
The promotion, all of that I don't enjoy.
you just took the question from my heart. Like, what are the difficulties you are facing in managing and promoting the business right now? Like, what
Yeah.
exactly? Can you just name few? Like, if someone in the audience or listening to us, if is facing, so what is it that you are facing difficulty with?
Yeah, the primary difficulty always, it has been from the beginning, and it is even today, even after 25 years, it's getting people to know that I'm here, getting people to know that I am available and that I do what I do. And it seems shocking to me that in a relatively small city, and having been here for so long, advertised in the newspapers every week for many years, and then a lot of online, Facebook, YouTube videos, advertising online, all of this. And I still sometimes get parents who come and say, "Oh, we wish we had known about you years ago." And I think, I don't know what else I could do to get to know you. I have to go knocking on every door. I've tried. I try to get you to know. And they laugh, but I mean, it's true. Like it's funny because if people aren't looking for you at that time, they just don't know you're there. And then when they do want you, they don't remember what they've seen over the years, right? So I find that the most difficult promotion, getting your name out there, getting people to know that you're available. It's not as big of a deal now as it used to be. I do get a lot of referrals, of course, from past students, and I even now, in the last few years, have got very close to having a child of one of my previous students. I have a boy right now whose uncle used to come to me. His uncle began with me in 1997, and now I am teaching this young boy who's in grade four. So that's
Um,
pretty amazing. That's fairly amazing.
you are actually teaching the second generation of that family.
That's
Two
right. That's
generations.
right. That's right. So that's very exciting. But it's the promotion part that's difficult. Yeah, for me, it continues to be, and I find it especially so online. To be honest, I've even considered putting ads back in the newspaper right now. I haven't done it for a number of years because that stopped working when everyone was switching online. But I honestly think it might work better now because there's nobody there. I would be the only one. So, and online there's so many from, so it is a bit difficult to get the eyes looking at your media or at your advertising.
So do you actually make content and you have your email subscribers and you send them some content, make your Facebook page and put on post. So do you make it now as well, or that is also your where is your troubling? You're having problem there also.
Uh, well, it's just people see my material sometimes. Now, YouTube has been probably the better one for me. And in fact, the dad that called me last night from Australia had seen my YouTube videos and he really liked them. And I had a student a couple of years ago saw my YouTube videos and he told his mom, I have to go see this guy. So that's unusual, but it's really nice when when the student says that. And so that one has been fairly good, but I have had very little luck with Facebook. I've had nothing with Instagram. Mind you, I don't do a lot with Instagram, but no, I don't find that they work for me in terms of promotion. Now, I don't do a great job of it. I admit I am not a professional at social media, and to some extent, I don't enjoy it. I do enjoy the YouTube videos because I feel like I'm teaching someone. I feel like I'm talking to my student when I'm talking and making a video. The others, I do it because you're supposed to do it. I don't do it because I enjoy it. And maybe that's the problem. Maybe I'm not enjoying it enough.
Uh, Teaching is what you love, we can basically say. And
Pardon?
I can,
Yeah.
teaching is what you love, we can say.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I can help you out with the remaining aspects if you want me to. I have like my digital content writer because I am not a content guy at all. I also love teaching. I teach, and
Mhm.
the things which I cannot do, I have hired people for it because there is no use in taking the headache for the things which I don't know. Just
That's right.
I just thought find some guy, let's get the work done because it's not a one day thing. Because I'm pretty young right now and I'm making this as my full. This is my full time career option which I have
Mhm.
choose because it has
Right.
just been like 3 years. I have completed my graduation, my engineering, and I have entered this tutoring field as a full time tutor. I want to
Right.
convert this into a huge industry. We can say means industry is already huge. My organization has a big uh, part in that tutoring industry. So I
Mhm.
just thought, why not just take steps at a time? And please let me know if you need any help with the content writing, the post
Mhm.
making, or video editing, other than teaching things. Because I do have a team ready. I can put them some for some good cause for you as well. Because I
Mhm.
am like from the tutorpreneurs, I find they are having many of them are having these issues because
Mhm.
they are good teachers, but it's not possible for everyone to be good at everything. Like
That's right.
some people are not good at marketing. I personally am not good at anything that is regarding the computers. I
Right.
don't know anything and I'm not good at it at all.
Right.
Like I don't know how to write content. I don't know how to make the posters. uh, I even don't know, means I don't like posting the ads and all. So I just thought, why not hire interns? Interns are like
Right.
instead of hiring a full-time person, I just hire interns from the colleges, like engineering
Right.
college, some graduates. So it's a pretty good way of educating them. And
Mhm.
on the side, we can say that it's a revenue saving way for the organization as well. We need to pay
Mhm.
them
Mhm.
less as compared to the
Right.
specialists of that
Mhm.
particular field. So please let me know if you need any
Sure.
help in
Sure.
this. I will be more than happy to help you out with that. And coming to the next question, what are your plans for the coming 2 to 3 years, so that if someone, even if I want to join you, uh, like what are you planning for the coming 3 years or 5 years? Do you want to, like some tutors say to me, they want to open their own courses, they want to make the study material ready, they want to put it on teachers pay teachers, or they also want to hire some tutors and continue their business. So what is there in your mind right now that you'll be doing in the 3 years?
Right. Yeah. The next probably 3 to 5, and even a little bit more than that years. Uh, well, I'm just about finished my book that I've been writing for a long time. It's a study skills book, actually. It shouldn't have taken this long, but life got in the way with COVID and with other things. So, but it's almost there. So I'm hoping to get that out. And that is primarily to help students with all of the different things that I've learned myself over the years and working with my students. Also, I'm going to tell a few stories because my students do some very funny things sometimes or ask me some very funny questions. So I want to put a few of those anecdotes in there so that people realize that we're all people. We all have funny things in our lives. I'll change all the names, of course, but some of my students say, "You can use my name." I said, "No, I'm not going to use your real name because I won't do that, but I might use the story because there have been some good ones over the years. So I'd like to get that up and running, and that was to teach students and parents too to help their kids or even themselves in terms of learning. But also, it's another promotional tool to have your book out there, and within the book, you can have information about how to get in touch and how you do your tutoring programs and things like that. So that can be a promotional piece as well. I don't expect the book to make money, or not a lot of money, but I expect it in more of a promotional tool. I'm also possibly going to put out another book that I have just started putting down, but this will be stories that I wrote back in the 1970s and the 1980s, a long time ago when I was very young. I'm going to say I was two, but I wasn't really. So that may be interesting too. I'm not sure about that one, but that might be interesting. In terms of the business, I will probably do more online, partly because some of my students may want to stay online now that they have tried it. Surprisingly, however, when we did have a little break in COVID for a while, almost everyone wanted to come back in person. I was surprised. I thought more would want to stay online. Saves them driving back and forth. But no, they like it in person too. So I will continue to do both. I'm not thinking of expanding the business or anything like that at this point in my career. Um, too much, but just continue to keep doing what I do and enjoying it, but possibly more online. And definitely, depending on how busy I am, because I am actually fairly busy still, doing some more online courses because I have created some online courses and I would do more of those. Uh, a business writing courses in mind. And then there is also, I'm considering doing a finance course as well, just something basic for people to help them, because I am teaching some of my older students in high school, that is, um, about finance, because I find that a lot of them don't understand. I once had a student, a high school boy, he asked me, or he came and he told me, he didn't ask me, he told me that his dad got a credit card that he paid for. He paid $75 or something for it, and it's an unlimited card. And I said, well, okay, that's fine, but and then he said, well, that means he can buy anything, and it only costs $75. And I said, no, that's not quite what that means. He still has to pay when the bill comes in. No, no, no. And he was very convinced that this unlimited card meant that you could buy anything. Once you pay your $75, then you can just use this card for a whole year and buy whatever you want. He didn't understand that. No, no, you have to pay for that. Plus, there's interest added onto that. And, so I explained it to him, and it took him a little while. He kept looking at me and he kept saying, "No, you're wrong. You don't understand what I'm saying." I said, "No." I said, "Think about it. If that was available, do you not think that almost everyone will buy that $75 credit card and go buy a car and a house?" And then you could sort of see the light bulb go on in his eyes and go, yeah, okay, you're right. This doesn't make sense. You're right. That can't be right. And then I explained it. So it's good for people to understand finance as well.
I feel happy for his dad that the child did not go shopping on the shopping
That's
spree with the
right. That's
card.
right. That's right. Don't give him your card.
uh, Coming to the next question, have you made any mistakes that you regret in this tutoring business?
Yes. In terms of the business, I probably made lots of mistakes. Some I probably am not even aware of that someone else would tell me that was a mistake. So I can't talk about those since I'm not aware of them. I should have had a better business plan probably in the beginning. I know that, and a lot of people tell me that. However, if I had gone that route, knowing my own personality, I would never have started my tutoring business. That would have ended it before it ever began, because it would have scared me. So in a way, I'm glad that I didn't do that. So I wouldn't necessarily call that a mistake, but many people would say it was a business error not to do that. But for me, it worked to just jump in and go rather than, because I would have stressed too much. I would have said, okay, that's just going to be too difficult. So the mistakes somewhat regret would be more with my students sometimes. It would be more, sometimes I would say something or I wouldn't do something that I probably should have done to help them more that I regret. And I have occasion, it doesn't happen very often, especially now, but in my earlier years, it happened a little bit more where the students that I see are often challenged students. So they're difficult. They can be. Not all of them. Some of them are great. But sometimes they can be very difficult. And it's difficult to hold your patience sometimes, and you will say something
Yeah.
that you probably shouldn't have said. And I would say that 99% of the time, the children are fine with it. That doesn't bother them at all. But it bothers me because I know it was not right. And so I always apologize as soon as I possibly can. And I always explain to them and I tell them I'm a human too. So are your teachers at school. So don't abuse them either because they're people. And I often have students come to me and say, well, Miss So and so is such a horrible teacher. And I say, well, what happened? Tell me what happened. So they tell me. And either he or someone else in the class did something really bad. And the teacher said something. And I said, well, maybe the teacher shouldn't have said it that way. However, you weren't being very nice either. Like you were treating her very badly. And she's a person. She has feelings. So, and then, that's a learning moment. So I've tried to turn them all into learning moments. And I don't have a lot of regrets, but in terms of yes, I made a very big mistake once in terms of advertising. As I say, I've always had issues with it. And I got convinced by a company to do video ads on the screens. You might have seen them in doctors' offices or shopping plazas and things. They have screens and they have advertising on them. And they convinced me this would be a good idea. And I thought, well, I wanted to try something new. I hadn't tried that before, but it was very expensive for me, for my small budget. And so I went ahead with it anyway, thinking, well, you got to spend money to make money. They always say that. So that's what I did. And it did absolutely nothing. I didn't even get a phone call from them. And I was committed to a year's contract, so I couldn't get out. And it was just a disaster, financially, but also it just didn't work in terms of promoting the business. So that was a mistake, and it was something I shouldn't have done. And I regret having done it. Don't regret it much now because that was a long time ago, but at the time I did. I thought, why did I do that? Why did I not understand that was a bad plan? But we all make mistakes.
We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
Yep. And are there some mistakes that you rectified and are helping you in grow your business right now?
I'm sorry, are there mistakes
that you have rectified? You made them good.
Oh, I see.
You learned from them and they are being
yes.
quite helpful in increasing or growing your business right now. So can you mention
I think so. The mistakes would be more, again, I don't know if I would necessarily call them mistakes, but you could. It's more in the style and the way that you handle clients and the way that you talk to clients, not clients, but prospective clients. So when people call or when you're talking to them in person behind me, I often meet with the parents and the child for a free information meeting. And it usually goes really very well and everyone's laughing and we all get along. But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes a parent can be very challenging too, partly because they're under stress. They want their child to do well. And they have different personalities. And some of them don't want to spend any money. And they get very angry when it costs money. And that's not my fault. Like I always use the same line I used with you, that the bank, the mortgage company and the gas people, they won't accept smiles for payment. So I have to charge money. I don't get paid by the government. I'm not, so, and they can be difficult sometimes, but I've learned how to handle that much better. In the beginning, I think I probably lost some clients because I didn't handle it as well as I am able to now. I still don't enjoy it, of course, but I I know how to handle it better. I know how to be more calm and patient and talk to them. And I have to realize that they too, mind you, it's gotten easier as I got older because all the parents are starting to look younger now. But they're also learning, right? They're also learning about things and about their child and about the problems that their child's having. In some cases, the parents didn't have any problem at school. They did well, and they can't understand why their daughter or their son is struggling. What's wrong with him? Well, there's nothing wrong with him. It's just different, and they have a different learning style or they have a different way. And but that's tough for a parent sometimes to accept that maybe my child won't be that straight A student, or maybe he won't be a famous scientist or she won't be a doctor. Like, and I never say they won't be, but I know that that's what's going on in their mind. If they don't get A's, they're not going to get here, right? And that can be a panic point for them, and I have to understand that. That's difficult sometimes.
Yeah, most of the time, actually, I do have a client. I do have some clients like I usually give a free demo session for 30 minutes or 45 minutes to check whether the student is a good fit for me or not. Because
Right.
if the student is challenging and difficult to handle, it's like an energy drainer for me personally. Like I observed that uh, few students are good. All the students are good, but few of them all don't want to work at all. They just
Yeah.
want to sit
Oh yeah.
around, very peacefully. They want to sit. Their parents are struggling, making him
Yeah.
sending him to tutor, and the guy or the girl, they just don't want to work hard at all. They just want to
That's right.
sit, eat, and go to sleep. So
That's
we
right.
can't. Means not we. I hope someone else other than me can help them because I can't handle it. If the student is has even the wish in his mind to work hard, we can
Right.
make it work out. But if the student is just having the thing that I don't want to work hard, I don't. I have a student right now who doesn't want to write a formula in his every question. Means he tries to skip the steps in the maths. So I just what are you going to do with your? It's in my mind it comes. Of course I don't say it to him. What is he going to do with his life right now? It's we cannot judge his whole life by this, but so much laziness at this age is not good because
Hmm.
this is their main learning age, and if they are ready to work hard, that is when they will come to know many things. So it's always about the good fit between the teacher and the student. It's like you must have observed that if the student does not get good grades, the parent
Yeah.
always blames the tutor, not the
That's
school
right.
teacher, not the school management, no one, but only the tutor they have hired. And hardly
That's right.
the child comes to the tutor for 2 hours or 3 hours a week, max to max. And
That's
they
right.
ask the tutors for the result. They should ask the school about this result, right? The child goes from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. 4 p.m. in the school.
That's
He
right.
is busy there around 9 to 10 hours in the school. They should go and ask them. And we being like tutors, because we just can't say anything and we accept. Okay, it's our own fault, and it affects the thinking, and the whole day goes bad sometimes.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
just try to take a half hour demo with the student and check whether he's a good fit or not, because I don't want to drain my energy because the other students might get affected. Those who really
Yeah.
want to study, it, it should not happen, but it happens. I am also a human being. So energy drainers are there. Few students, we can say, I personally can't help them. Have you met any such students
Yeah.
who drain your energy?
It's true. It does drain your energy uh, a lot when students are like that, and I have had many, many over the years because I'm often the tutor they do come to when no one else will work with them. I have had that happen more than once, um, and when they're very difficult. So it's not. I don't want to give the impression that all my students are like that. They're not. But in the beginning, some of them really are. I've had them with their the free information meeting is similar to the free session you give. It's to get to know one another. It's to see, for me, as well as for the student and the parent, uh, just our personality. Do you think it will work in that way? And I've had a student here with his head on the table at that free information meeting, like literally with his head on the table, not at all interested, not going to talk to me, not going to have anything to do with me. And and I've never rejected a student for that reason. I've never said no. If I don't get along with the parent, I shouldn't say don't get along, but if I have a bad feeling, I will sometimes say no. I won't tell them why, but I will say, I don't have enough room, or it's not going to work out, I don't think right now, maybe later, because in that case, that'll be more of an issue for me. I can probably deal with the child, even a teenager. I deal with lots of teenagers, and some tutors won't take teenagers because they're too difficult sometimes. I mean, the ones that are that way, and but I will usually, and to be honest, within a few weeks, sometimes even quicker, they turn around. I don't know why. I'm just lucky. I think it's my strange sense of humor, and I don't know what it is, but it seems to work fine. That doesn't mean they love their schoolwork. I don't mean that, but they seem to be able to get over that initial um, reluctance, and they at least like me. They might not like math, or they might not like writing, but they at least like me, and we get along. And so they'll do something for me just because they want to please me, sort of. So at least they're doing something. And then
Yeah.
we work with that, and we just add another little brick, and we add another little brick. We just keep building on that. And then it doesn't always happen, but sometimes it happens that they all of a sudden like something. I had a student a while ago came, and I said, well, I know you don't really love math. He says, you know what? I kind of like it now. It's like, oh my gosh, for 3 years, I had to listen to you tell me how you hated it, and it won't do you any good, and it won't get you anywhere in life. And you went on and on. And now you suddenly tell me you like it. So it can happen, but you're right, it is draining. If a student is really difficult, and not a pleasant personality sometimes, it's draining. At the end of the day, you're just like, oh, I'm exhausted. I can't do any more. Why am I doing this to myself? I must be crazy. There's something wrong with me.
Actually, the same thing happens with me. When I give a free consultation, it's most probably I have had around 100% success ratio. Wherever I have given demo, I have been the student has selected, and we went along. So the child, they accepted, but it's about that means I find it little bit difficult in changing their attitude. I want to
Yeah.
learn that skill. I don't want to reject the students with that, maybe because nobody in the society nearby area accepted the student. He came to me, he liked my class, and we got along. So we are tutoring from around 3 months together. It has been going great. But
Good.
as you said, they do stuff just to please us, and nothing much. They don't do the school work. They don't like going to the school or anything. But they will come to the tuition class. Means the tutoring session, they will come for sure. They will sit there peacefully, do the work which you are giving them. But what I expect is them to be a little bit more hardworking.
Yeah.
I think there is. I need to learn that skill to how to make them hardworking, or somewhat like that. Or maybe I'm not a perfect tutor for that set of
Yeah.
children.
Sure. Sure. There are times when if it's not a good fit, then it's good not to do it. And it's not for everybody. I understand people who don't do it, and I probably won't continue to take the most difficult as I go on, because I A, don't need to, and B, it's too stressful for me. I'm getting old. but but um, but I still enjoy working. And I say normally it doesn't take too long for them to turn around. And it sounds like you are similar in to me. I always say, if a teacher likes children, if you like children, if you're working with children, I also work with adults, but if you like children, it comes across. It makes a difference. And I hate to say it, but there are some teachers, and probably some tutors, I guess, that honestly don't even like children. They
Yeah.
hate them. Why are you in that profession if you don't like them? So, I mean, it's the wrong job for you. I mean, you should like children. You have to deal with them. You have to work with them, and they're not fully cooked yet. I always say a child is not cooked. Their brain is not finished. So, of course, they're going to have some really strange ideas, and they're sometimes going to be difficult. That's just the nature of being a kid, right? I'm
Yep.
sure I wasn't a perfect child.
But I completely believe you are a perfect human being,
Yes.
and any child would want to learn from you. Even I feel now that I should learn from you a lot of things, and we should meet very often. So,
Oh, you're
coming,
just being very kind.
no, I'm just speaking the facts. Uh, Coming to the next question, what is something that you would like to advise someone who is just entering the tutoring field, just starting up his business?
Yeah. Um, don't do it for the money. Do it because you love teaching and because and if you're planning on working with children, because you might be planning on working with adults, but if you're planning on working with children or teenagers, sit down and ask yourself, do I like children and do I like teenagers? Can I tolerate them? Because if you don't do it, because you don't belong in that business. Honestly, what I said before. And don't do it for the money because sometimes it is difficult to make money in the business, especially at the beginning, or it takes time. If you're becoming an entrepreneur or a tutor, it takes time to get the business going, and it might not be enough. So I wouldn't quit my day job and just go in fully unless you have some other backup plan, because you might not survive very long. So you want to be careful with that, but also because, like I said, I don't think money should be the primary goal. That should be something that follows. If you're a good tutor, if you're good at what you do, especially if you know how to promote your business and get out there, um, then the money will just come. But just enjoy the learning and the teaching, because you always have to learn. I'm still learning new platforms online. I'm always looking for new ideas or new things that I can use for my students, but I don't jump on every new idea, because I don't need 1,000 different ways to teach someone how to do division. I only need a couple very good ones. That's all I need. So sometimes there's too much online, and people jump this platform, this one, and that's not helpful for the student. It confuses them. They don't know. And then they're given a piece of paper at school and said, do it on paper. And they've never done it on paper. So that doesn't help either. If you've only played games online and now you have to actually show your work on a piece of paper, how are you going to do that? You never did it. You might be really good at the game, but you have no idea how to show it on paper. So keep it simple and don't overburden yourself. But yeah, and do it for the love of teaching. And then I think everything else comes into place. I think everything else will work.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to keep learning. You have to teach yourself. I mean, you have to learn how to keep the book. If you're really doing it on your own, like I did, and like many people, at least at the beginning, did, you have to do everything. You do all the work. You do the media, you do the teaching, you do the lesson preparation, you do the marking, you make the videos, you do everything at the beginning, at least. And you have to learn how to do all of that. Keep track of the invoicing and everything. Yeah.
That that is absolutely true what you are saying. Initially, like people think here in India there is a trend right now going. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. They want to start their business. They want to like. It's a cool thing now. If someone says like, "Oh, I'm an entrepreneur," they'll say, "Oh my God, you're an entrepreneur. You are doing business."
Right,
And
right.
nobody talks about this part where the tutorpreneur means all the entrepreneurs have to struggle a lot. It's like a never-ending job. I personally feel that the people who are doing job are having less responsibilities than the entrepreneur, and
Yes.
they should be happy and content. Even like those people who are doing job also feel that I want to do something of my own. Yeah, it's a good feeling, but when you start something of your own, as you mentioned, a lot of things, you have to do like marketing, then the content writing, video making, video editing, then
Right.
seeing if it is correct or not, then reviewing it, then making your own Facebook page, post, everything, and then after all, teaching after doing
That's right.
everything.
That's right. There's a lot of other aspects to it. So be reasonable in your expectations and don't expect to just start making, tons of money right away. There are people out there who advertise that you can make all this money. Well, some do, maybe, but many don't. And I've not gotten rich by doing this. I have not financially. I've gotten rich in other ways, but financially I've done well. It has supported me, and that's great. But I'm not a wealthy person. I could have made much more money being a school teacher, probably, but I enjoy this much more. Um, I did have a school teacher once call me and wanted to work for me or with me in my tutoring business. I didn't know she was a teacher though. She just asked me questions, and I said no, I don't hire anybody, and I'm not planning on expanding or anything. And she was very pleasant at first, and then she got very angry with me, and she said, "Well, then I'm going to start up my own tutoring business and put you out of business." And I said, "Well, good luck with that, because I know how hard it is." And I also know that you won't be making $60,000 in your first year. It isn't going to happen. And you won't get the same holidays, and you won't, there's some great things about being a teacher in the schools, and there's some great things about being a tutor, but they're different. They're not the same. So you can't just walk in and everything is there. You have to do all the work. Now there
Every
are some
time.
great Yeah. There are some great programs you can use. Like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So you can get lots of worksheets and programs that are already done for you, and you should take advantage of those. But there's still a lot that you have to do on your own. Yeah.
Yep, that's absolutely correct. And many things, a lot of things we have to do, and every day we have to do it. It's not like
Yeah,
someday.
that's right. Yeah. Well, and you don't really, you kind of take time off, but not really. So when I'm not working on the weekends, I don't normally see students on the weekends, but I'm still working. I'm still doing other things. And even when I'm going for a walk, I'm thinking about, okay, how can I help Brad do better in this way? Or what am I going to do with that essay that so and so wrote? Like, it's still in my head. When I go to bed, it's still in my head. I wake up thinking, oh, yes, I have to see what I can do about that. So there's always something going on, which is both good and bad. But if you're the type of person who likes to just get away, well, good luck, because then you're probably not going to succeed, because you're always thinking about your students. You're always thinking about your business and what you can do to make it better. And sometimes what you can do to make it easier for yourself too. Sometimes you can do overkill. And I have done that. I tend to do that sometimes. And it's like, why am I doing this when there's an easier way? And sometimes it takes me a while to figure out, I don't really have to do it this way. There is an easier way, which is just as good. It's not less. So you have to take advantage of that too. Yeah. And
Yep.
I have seen many tutoring businesses come and go because I've been doing this a long time. And to be honest, that makes me panic sometimes. We talked earlier about, have you ever thought of quitting? Well, we moved to this house that we're in now in 2003, I think. Anyway, and right after we moved, just down the street, a tutoring service was opening up, and it had fancy signage and fancy pamphlets, much better than mine. And it was bigger, and it was a separate building. This is in my home. It was a separate building. And I thought, oh no, they're right down the street from me. And then another one was just downtown, which is not very far from me either. And it was also a professional one. It was a franchise operation. And I thought, oh, what happened? As soon as we moved here, everybody's coming here. And I was kind of worried about it. And I said, I don't know if I'm going to be able to survive this. Well, they're both gone, and I'm still here. So it isn't all about fancy. It isn't all about big signs and everything else. It's about being a really good tutor and caring
And being
about your
realistic.
students
Yeah,
and
caring
being
about the student,
realistic.
being
Being
realistic.
realistic. Yeah. The one that was the
Actually,
closest one to me, I think they spent so much money on the building and everything else that they didn't have enough to continue, right? They ended up probably in financial straits. Whereas I started small and I just worked my way through.
and tutoring centers actually run because of tutors.
Yes, that's right.
Most of
That's
the
right.
people, like I have seen many tutoring companies, they put a lot of money on all the infrastructure and they don't pay the teachers. They don't pay
That's
the
right.
tutors
That's
much.
right.
Even the school system, the schools in India, I don't know about US teachers get paid well, but here in
Hmm.
India, the teachers work a lot and they are paid a
Hmm.
very less salary. So
Yeah.
it's very bad on the teachers' part because the school runs because there are teachers, and if
Hmm.
they are not happy, how can the students be made happy, and how can they make them something means the student should learn one thing every day and go home. At least
Hmm.
one thing should be there, they should be learning. Like if there are 8 teachers, if the student just has one thing in mind and goes and tells his parent, that's more than enough. The parent is
Yeah.
also happy that the student is coming home and telling them something else. Okay, so now
That's right.
coming to the last question of this podcast, it has been, the time just flew.
I know.
It just went off a long time. So if a student or a parent or a tutor wants to get in touch with you, so can you please let us all know how can they avail your services? How can they contact you?
Right. Well, they can go to my website, www.tutoringcentral.com, and they can access my email from there. Um, or they can just email me directly, tutoringcentral at inbox.com or tutoringcentral at hotmail.com, either one. So that those are the ways. Of course, people can telephone me as well. Um, those are probably the easiest ways to get in touch with me. And then, as I say, I offer a free information meeting either in person or online. So obviously, if you're from another country or if we're still in COVID, it would be online, and we just chat. And during that meeting, and I am really against high pressure sales, so there is no concern. I just want everyone to feel comfortable. I don't even ask if you want to sign up right now. I just leave that up to you. Most people will. They'll just say let's go, but that's fine. Sometimes they have to think about it, or they have to talk to their husband or their wife or their children or whatever, and then they get back to me later. And sometimes they say yes, and sometimes not. But that's fine, because I want, it's better if we all start off on the same page, and then we can make it a great success.
Yeah, I will also put all the details in the description of this video. So if
Oh,
someone
I
has missed
appreciate it.
your, if someone has missed listening to some letters in the website or somewhat, because I want them directly reaching to you, not a letter aside, not a letter this side. So I just want them to reach to you directly. So I'll just mention everything in the description of the video. So all the people who want to uh, get help in their academic studies, they can just
Right.
contact Mr. Ronald from the handles given below. And I would like to really thank you for giving your time for this Tutorpreneur series. And it actually has been a very nice experience for me. I have taken around 10 to 15 interviews till now, but this has been the most awesome interview I have had till now. I can tell
Oh,
you that.
I really appreciate it. I enjoyed it too, because I love talking about teaching and tutoring and learning and all of those things. So it's always fun to talk to someone else who is interested in teaching. And I'm sure that you're doing an amazing job with your group. And I wish you all the best of luck. I don't think you need luck. You have lots of skill, but luck helps too.
Thank you so much, Ronald. I hope to see you
Thank you.
soon when I get
Thank
full
you.
book again. We'll see you soon. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Vivek. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.